Hi everybody, it's Dr. Nicole Montero with Zen Wanderlust Travel, where we encourage you to travel the world, find yourself, and live your purpose. Welcome to another episode of Country Spotlight, where I talk about a particular country to hopefully spark your interest, give you some interesting information, and maybe even motivate you to go visit yourself. Today, I'm going to talk about a country that is very near and dear to my heart. It's Guinea, West Africa. I know I say that about almost all of the countries, and they all are near and dear to my heart. But there's something about Guinea, its tradition and culture of drum, dance, music, and arts and traditional culture that's just really fascinating. So I want to talk a little bit about that today, and please stick around for the entire video because at the end you will see some of my firsthand footage of the amazing dance and drum culture in Guinea. First, let me give you a little background and history, as I always do, about the countries. So Guinea, as I said, is in West Africa. It's bordered by 6 countries: Senegal, Mali, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, and Guinea-Bissau. It borders the Atlantic Ocean, and the capital, Conakry, is right off of the ocean. It's a beautiful place where you can sit and just watch the waves come in, and it is just really amazing. But it's also a country with a lot of diversity. Diversity in terms of the geographic terrain. So there are all kinds of regions. There's Conakry, as I said, on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. Kindia is a beautiful small town that has a waterfall and a lot of arts and beautiful materials and crafts. That's about 80 miles from Conakry. And then because of the deep tradition of the Malinke, that's one ethnic group, drum and culture and dance, Kamsar, Kankan, places like this are deeply rooted and steeped in culture and tradition. There's the Fouta Djallon region, which is in central Guinea, very mountainous and a very historic area. And there's the southern part that borders Liberia and Sierra Leone. Sometimes they call it Fore. So it's just a vast country. And another part of the diversity, as with most of Africa, is the ethnic and linguistic diversity. So there are many different ethnic groups. The most populous include the Malinke, which is sometimes called Mandinko, or Mande rooted people, the Fulani, the Susu, and many, many other groups. So these are languages besides French that are spoken there. The country officially gained independence in 1958 under the rule, the first president was Sekou Toure, and it's also the historic home of great mighty African empires, including the great Mali Empire and Songhai empires. So these are things that you want to find out more in terms of the history of West Africa, the rich traditions, and so forth. But the thing about Guinea that's so special now is the way that the African dance and drum performance art really developed. So in the early 1950s, and actually in Paris, the first national dance company of Guinea was created. It's called Les Ballets Africains. It was created by Keita Fodeba, and it became, after independence under Sekou Toure, sort of the banner of unity, history, tradition, and rich culture of the country. Sekou Toure thought this was an amazing way to showcase the strengths and the richness of Guinea and showcase it to the world. So Les Ballets Africains, the drummers, the dancers, the musicians, the acrobats, the tailors, everyone involved in this enterprise of telling the story of Guinea's history. They toured all over. They toured all over Africa and eventually went to Western countries. They've been to Australia, all over Europe, and eventually to the US. And then from there, this was a way of bringing the country together. The ballets, as they're called, the first one, as I just said, Les Ballets Africains, but then later on, they're developed Ballet Joliba, and much later than that, Les Merveilles. There are also some smaller community or recreational ballets that are popping up in little towns and cities. So even in Conakry, there's Ballet de Matam, which is a neighborhood in Guinea. So African dance as a performance art is really developed and continues to develop in Guinea. But when you go back to the tradition of African dance and drum and music, it really hasn't, it has a hundreds of year long history that is very traditional. It's a way that the community expresses its cultural values, comes together, communicates. So African dance and drum are performed at different community events like weddings and baby naming ceremonies and initiations. There are specific dances and rhythms, and there's a way that dancers and musicians communicate with each other. Now, Guinea is not the only place in West Africa that is the home of the djembe, the particular percussive instrument, but it is a place where djembe is really elevated to a level that you just cannot imagine. So there's djembe drums, and there are the accompanying drums, the dundun, the sangban, the kenkani. There's the small talking drum. There are other musical instruments, including the Balafon, the Kora. There are flutes that often accompany. I mean, when I say this is a really developed art form and it's really traditional, this is something, the Malinke or Mande tradition is really well developed in terms of these instruments and the marriage between music and dance. And it's also a form of art and storytelling. It's a way of telling and transmitting cultural values about who the people of Guinea are historically, what they believe in, what they value, and what they want to pass down for future generations. And the thing about traditional Guinea arts is that this has been passed down through hundreds of years through a class or group of people called what they call in French griots. And these are the storytellers, the keepers of the culture, the ensurers of the integrity of the values and the cultural tradition of the music and the dance. As I mentioned, the dance, music, and arts of Guinea are really traditionally a way for the community to come together, for the community to communicate, for the community to even pass down its values, its culture, and to heal itself. So there's a lot that's written about in terms of the use of traditional drums and music and dance as a form of emotional, spiritual, and psychological even healing for people in the community. So there's so much I could say about that, but I want you to look at the final part of this video where you can see the amazing demonstrations of Guinea dance. Guinea dance, there's so many different dances. There's Dundunba, which is one of the most important dances in Guinea. There's Manjani, Mande, Fouta Djallon, Guinea Fare, there's Cuckoo, there's Kasa. There are just so many dances, but what you can see that ties together so much of Guinea dance is the intricate foot movement, the groundedness of the body, the exuberant energy, the movement, the flowing movement of the arms. Lamban is another dance that really showcases the arm movements and the neck movements, the flexibility, but also the stability and the centeredness of the dancer. All of this works together in the communication without even speaking, where the drums play particular rhythms, dancers can tell or hear it. They use certain steps or foot movements to communicate with the drummers and so forth. So it's really a sight to behold. It's something that actually is one of the big sources of visitation and tourism in Guinea. Many people who have studied African dance and culture in Western countries, in the US, it's also getting big in Europe, even in places like Japan. People come to Guinea to study under the masters, to study under some of the original members of Les Ballets Africains or Ballet Joliba or some of the others that I mentioned, Les Merveilles. These companies have toured all over the world, and they also have members who are in Guinea ready to engage, ready to teach, and ready to showcase their amazing culture and traditions. So I want you to see this final part of the video. Leave me a comment if you have been to Guinea, if you are a practitioner, or if you are a student of traditional Guinea culture, dance, music, and you know about the deep cultural significance of this tradition and culture. Leave me a comment. Tell me what your experience is. Tell me what you think. If you feel like you want to go to Guinea, please let me know. There are many people who are holding trips for cultural dance reasons, for educational reasons. Even I've seen some medical missions on some of my trips to Guinea. And just to tell you about my experience to Guinea, I visited 3 times, spent a total of 2 months there. I have myself gone to different areas and regions of the country. I've gone to traditional weddings, baby naming ceremonies. I've studied with some of these African dance masters and teachers, and I've been to rehearsals. For example, I spent a lot of time at Ballet de Matam, which is in Conakry, and it was started by Sekouba Kamara, who is a big dancer with the Les Ballets Africains. So it's an amazing place if you just want to experience the tradition of arts and culture, even if you yourself aren't ready to take dance or drum lessons, if that's not your thing. But just to witness and experience it is an experience that you will not forget and you will not regret. So please see the rest of the dance video and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. See you later.